Now enjoy this fun photo collage of some of your favorite stars and politicians who speak about the need to reduce our carbon footprint, but who are always on private planes. That's right, all of them. If you don't see a celebrity's picture here, it's because we weren't allowed to use it. Or their series got canceled.
Maher just dropped a truth bomb on Hollywood virtue signaling elite, and it was pure comedic carnage. I've said it before, trust these self-proclaimed moral crusaders, and you'll end up front row at Hypocrisy Theater. Their double standards are so thick you could butter toast with them, and even the devil himself might need a shower after. From George Clooney polished preaching to Bernie Sanders socialism for thee but not for me routine, Maher torched them all without mercy. And honestly, it was long overdue. So grab your popcorn, this takedown deserves an encore.
Humans are not good people. It's just not in us, including me. And I'm tired of living not a lie, but it's also something I never mention, but it's a new year, and I'd like to come clean. My name is Bill, and I fly private. And so does every other person who calls themselves an environmentalist who can.
Maher kicked off the show admitting he all for saving the planet right before casually dropping that he flies private. Classic. That the kind of eco-hypocrisy we're talking about. It the perfect snapshot of Hollywood's sanctimonious elite, preaching carbon guilt from 30,000 feet. They can quote climate reports like scripture and hashtag save the earth in their sleep. But when it's time to actually live it, silence. Their activism isn't about saving the planet, it's about saving face. It's environmentalism with a PR budget. And Maher, bless his cynical heart, finally gave them the verbal spanking they've had coming for years.
Stars and politicians who speak about the need to reduce our carbon footprint, but who are always on private planes. That's right, all of them. If you don't see a celebrity's picture here, it's because we weren't allowed to use it. Or their series got canceled. But all the environmentalists of Hollywood and Washington do it. Their position on climate change is, we must do more to stop pouring carbon into the air, except for me when I want to go somewhere and then I take a private jet.
And that's exactly why I can't take these people seriously once the credits roll. Most of them rake in massive checks to raise awareness, which is really just code for boosting their brand while pretending to care. Even the ones who swear it all out of pure goodness please. That not virtue, it vanity wrapped in recycled paper. Their mission isn't saving the planet, it's salvaging their public image. The private jets, the sprawling mansions, the fleet of Teslas, it all performance art for the Church of Hypocrisy. And then there Bernie Sanders, the self-proclaimed man of the people, suddenly looking perfectly comfortable sipping champagne with the very 1%ers he made a career condemning.
But all the environmentalists of Hollywood and Washington do it. Their position on climate change is, we must do more to stop pouring carbon into the air, except for me when I want to go somewhere and then I take a private jet. It turns out there is one thing in this world that is completely impossible to resist, and this is it.
What hilarious is that most of the celebrities Maher roasted are the same ones who can't stop fawning over Kamala Harris and tripping over themselves to prove their democratic devotion. They're self-proclaimed eco-warriors, at least when the cameras are rolling. Save the planet has been their slogan for 20 years, shouted from award show stages, red carpets, and Instagram captions. And after all that noise, what actually changed? Nothing. The planet's still burning, emissions are still climbing, and their private jets are still carving contrails across the sky. Why? Because it never been about progress, it always been about performance. Their activism is a costume, their passion a script. They don't crave responsibility, they crave relevance. They treat causes the same way they treat film roles, memorize the lines, strike the pose, soak up the applause, then drive home in an SUV the size of a small apartment.
It turns out there is one thing in this world that is completely impossible to resist, and this is it. It's like heroin. If you do it once, you'll never stop. There are two kinds of people in the world, those who fly private and those who would if they could.
Bill Maher just calling it like it is, and honestly, I'm right there with him. If I ever got the chance to hop on a private jet, I wouldn't hesitate for a second. Who would it fast, quiet, and gloriously free of crying toddlers and TSA glove inspections. No endless lines, no middle seats straight out of the Inquisition, and no mystery chicken that tastes like damp cardboard. Commercial flying today feels less like travel and more like punishment with wings. Flying private, though, that's the dream. Comfort, freedom, and sanity, all packed into one smooth takeoff. You set the schedule, stretch out like royalty, and actually enjoy the ride for once. So no, Maher not saying private jets are the problem. The problem is pretending to be an eco-saint while sipping champagne at 40,000 feet. That when the halo starts to crack.
I can take being a bad environmentalist because almost all of us are, but I can't take being a hypocrite. Now, I always justified renting a plane because I only used it for work and literally could not get to most of my stand-up gigs on time any other way. How do you think I did it all those years? I said goodnight here at 8 p.m. and was on stage in Vegas at 10. But I don't need to do stand-up, like tomorrow night in Albuquerque.
Sadly, that's exactly what the Democratic Party has become, a masterclass in performative wokeness and selective morality. They parade around as the nation moral compass, armed with hashtags and Hollywood endorsements, but pull back the curtain and it all smoke, mirrors, and stage-managed virtue. They'll champion causes they barely believe in, just long enough to score applause, headlines, and another late-night talk show booking. It not conviction anymore at choreography. Every statement runs through a PR filter, every word sanded down to offend no one. And in their desperate dance to stay correct, they've lost something essential: sincerity. They don't stand for what right, they stand for what trending. Their beliefs shift with the algorithm, their principles rise and fall like hashtags. It no longer a movement, it a performance. A party built on slogans instead of substance, where image always outranks integrity.
And outside of heads of state, almost everyone else could fly commercial. Why don't they? Ask anyone who tried to get home for Christmas last year. And don't tell me the younger generation is better. They're not. They're just poorer. They're actually worse. This is who they look up to. The family where everyone has their own private jet. And kids love Bitcoin, which, to determine the value of, takes an amount of computer processing that uses more electricity than some whole countries. Kids could have rejected that, but they didn't. They love it. Why? Because they want to be rich. Why? So they can fly private.
Maher then turned his sights on the younger wing of the Democratic Party, and he didn't hold back. He pointed out the irony that this most educated generation on environmental issues keeps making the same mistakes as the ones they love to ridicule. These are the people who've attended every climate summit, signed every digital petition, and posed for every protest selfie imaginable. Yet, as Maher Riley put it, their passion for saving the planet isn't moral, it's situational. They care because they're broke. It's easy to condemn private jets when you're stuck in the middle seat on Spirit Airlines. Maher jab landed hard. Give this crowd the same cash and comfort as the elites they mock, and they'd burn jet fuel faster than they could say eco-conscious. His punchline cut deep. Maybe their activism isn't virtue after all. Maybe it's just thriftiness dressed in green.
No one can resist it. John Kerry is our climate czar, and he uses a private jet. It's like if the Secretary of Homeland Security smuggled drugs in his butt. People take jets to environmental conferences. If you could run TED Talks on hypocrisy, you wouldn't need coal.
Yep, Maher kept tossing truth grenades at the DNC, and this one hit dead center. John Kerry, the guy handpicked as the presidential envoy for climate change, got caught flying private. And not in his pre-envoy days, either after the appointment. That's what makes it spectacularly tone-deaf. You can't lead the global crusade against carbon while leaving contrails across the stratosphere in your own jet. It's like lecturing on sobriety with a martini in hand. Maher's message couldn't have been clearer. You can't sell virtue while shopping for vice. The hypocrisy is Olympic level. These are the same people wagging fingers at middle-class Americans to reduce their footprint, while their weekly carbon tab could power a small town. That not leadership at theater. Hypocrisy in designer suits, served with a side of moral superiority and a splash of jet fuel.
But sorry, not sorry. I tried to do my part for the environment. I never had kids. The one thing worse for the planet than private jets. It's true, because then they have kids. I had the first generation Prius in 2001. It looked like a Tylenol gel cap. I was always handing my keys to valets who were driving a better car than me. I had the first Tesla in 2010, and honestly, both these cars sucked. The Tesla came up to about here on me. If I had a hard-on, I couldn't fit in this thing.
The rest of Maher's monologue turned into a hilarious blend of self-awareness and self-congratulation peak Maher energy. He gave himself a little pat on the back for doing his part to go green, proudly noting that he drives a Tesla and wishing more people would join the electric crusade. But as he dryly admitted, they didn't. In fact, most people hit the brakes hard. The more folks learned about electric cars, the less magical they seemed. Between sky-high prices, charging stations rarer than Bigfoot sightings, and batteries that are an environmental nightmare to dispose of, not to mention that most electricity still comes from fossil fuels, the irony practically wrote itself. In classic Maher fashion, he summed it up with biting clarity: the green revolution hasn't exactly revolved. Instead, it became yet another cautionary tale of how noble intentions can go up in smoke the moment they collide with reality, and a generous helping of hypocrisy.
In 2021, 80% of new vehicles weren't electric, weren't even hybrid. They weren't even cars. They were SUVs and trucks. That's what people want. In 1973, the share of global electricity generated by coal was 38%. You know what it was 46 years later in 2019, after all the talk and all the trying? 37%. You know what percentage of plastic gets recycled? 5%. Those blue bins that are everywhere, they're not full of bottles, they're full of shit.
Humans really are walking contradictions. We love to talk about doing good, bask in the glow of righteousness, and perform our empathy for anyone watching. But when it comes time to actually live those values, we hesitate. Convenience almost always trumps conscience. We'll post Save the Planet hashtags from smartphones built with mined metals, then hop on a flight to Bali for a little self-discovery. We'll rant about pollution online, then idle our SUVs in the drive-thru, and that right there is why the global climate crusade keeps spinning its wheels. Awareness isn't the issue, authenticity is. Everyone wants change, but nobody wants to change. Until that moral gap closes, all the summits, speeches, and eco-slogans in the world will remain just that hot air. Literally. Maher's closing message was sharp but undeniable. He held up a mirror, and no one liked the reflection. Hollywood, politicians, influencers, and self-proclaimed activists all preaching purity while bathing in contradiction. Until we start living the values we love to advertise, both the fight against hypocrisy and the fight for the planet will stay stuck on repeat. And with that, the curtain falls on today's show. If you enjoyed the ride, go ahead, hit that like button and subscribe for more truth, served with a generous side of sarcasm.